everyone! This week we're going to feature Castle Panic by Fireside Games. This is their new version of an old-time favorite. Castle Panic was one of the first games I actually bought to add to my collection. But the exciting thing is now there's another expansion. This is expansion number 4. It's Crowns and Quests, and it gives you 12 new characters and 18 quests. So each time you play the game, you're supposed to do 2 quests, but it just adds so much replayability and just a different thing to do. You could play it just with the base game or with the other expansions as well. We're going to recreate part of the board as a peppermint hot chocolate style cake. So it's going to have a chocolate cake with peppermint frosting, cover it with fondant so we can decorate it to look like the board, and then we're going to have gingerbread walls and gingerbread castles. Let's get started. It's after Thanksgiving, so let's bring on those winter flavors. Starting making a chocolate cake. I opted for a box cake mix with a substitution of a half a cup of milk and a half cup of water instead of 1 cup of water, and this will make it thicker and easier to cut. Whatever you choose, divide the batter between 2 9-inch circular baking pans, and you want to bake it until a toothpick in the center comes out with only a few little specks on it. Let them cool completely before decorating. For our tasty peppermint frosting, it's very sweet, so I made a 1.5 batch, but you could probably just make a single batch. Start by creaming 3 sticks of softened unsalted butter until it's smooth and coating the side of the bowl. Slowly add in 6 cups of powdered sugar. Yeah, 6 cups. That's why it's so sweet. A half a cup at a time. Once it's all incorporated, add in 1.5 teaspoons of peppermint extract and 2 tablespoons of milk. Put it on low until that's mixed in, and then increase it, and you want it to whip for a few minutes on medium to high speed. At this point, check to see the consistency. You could add extra milk to make it thinner, and after tasting, I add a little bit of salt to bring out the peppermint flavor and contrast some of the sweetness. Keep whipping until it's light and fluffy, and it probably should mix for at least 2 minutes. To prep the cake, trim the extra cake off the top to make sure your cakes are flat. Use a little icing to help it stick onto your cake board, and then you want to put a decent amount of frosting on the top of your first cake because this will be your filling. Put on your top layer, and check to see if all your sides line up. Apply a coat of frosting to the cake. You can either put all of it on now, or you can put a thin crumb coat on, and let that sit in the fridge a second before applying your final frosting. This will help it have a smoother cake with less crumbs in your frosting. Let it sit in the fridge while you prep some fondant. Roll out some light brown fondant until it's 1/8 of an inch thick and large enough to cover your cake. Fondant actually lasts a long time. This fondant is made up of 3 different fondants from previous bakes that I just microwaved for a second to make softer and then meshed them together, so waste not. Use your rolling pin to get off the counter and drape it over your chilled cake. Smooth the top of the cake and use your hands to smooth the sides while gently pulling so you don't have any folds in your fondant. Cut off the excess fondant and give it one more go around to make it nice and extra smooth. To decorate your cake, you're going to need some edible markers and paints. Start by getting a hexagon cookie cutter or some sort of hexagon to put an indent in the center of your cake, and this will help your lines be evenly spaced. Use your roller to connect the 2 lines across the cake and then continue down the side of the cake. This way you'll have 6 sections just like the game board. You can start like me with Rain Castle, though it will inevitably get covered up. Oh well. There are 2 blocks of each color or terrain type. Certain cards are only able to be played on the corresponding part of the board. That's why it's important to have the different colors. Use your edible paint to make a hexagon line of the colored section. And it's nice that the sections look differently too. The blue looks like water, the green looks like patches of grass, and the red looks like angry spike mountains, but hey. One thing that I noticed is that in the new version, each section has its own little symbol, so this way people who are colorblind can easily tell the sections apart. Once your sections are finished, you're ready for your castles. You need something to panic over after all. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe for new videos every Tuesday. Thanks! Our towers and walls are made out of gingerbread. This is my favorite gingerbread recipe from my father's work and Everdell Bakes, the links above. Roll it out to 1/4 inch thickness. I literally took the game pieces and scanned them to make the stencils. This way I knew I had the same proportions as the game. You need 6 walls and 6 castles for a full set. You can also make monster tokens, or lots of monsters if you feel particularly aggressive. Bake them at 350 degrees for 12 to 13 minutes. Let them cool completely on the tray before decorating. To decorate, use a thick black royal icing to outline the different sections of the castles and walls. It should mostly look like the structure at this point. Let it dry and then fill in the sections with light and dark gray. Castle Panic was one of the first games I actually bought from my collection. It's one of my favorite co-op games and probably the ones I play the most. Once your royal icing has dried, use a black edible marker to add the brick details. And this is done to the castles and the walls. You can also use brown and green edible markers to add the vines onto the walls and castles. In order to make the walls and castles stand up, get a little wedge of extra gingerbread and use your thick royal icing to stick it onto the back of your walls and castles. Prop them up against the side of a baking sheet or some other stable structure until it dries. To make your monsters, outline the shape in black royal icing and little sections in the corner, which is where the numbers go on the pieces. Fill in the corners with gray and the centers with yellow. Once that's dry, use edible markers to add your monster details. Roar! Defend the walls! To put it all together, each section of the board needs a wall and a castle. If it's not balancing perfectly, it's okay to push down into the cake to make it more level. Also, just have more traction. For fun, leave one wall off and a monster attacking the castle. You can put any extra monsters around the side. It's time to panic now! Our cake castle's under attack! Charge! Thanks for watching another episode of Board Game Bakes. I had fun tying in some holiday flavors with the chocolate and the peppermint. What's your favorite holiday flavor? And what's your favorite holiday game to play? I realize I have a lot of Halloween games, but I don't really have that many suggestions for Christmas games. So let me know in the comments. Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!